Alright, hi, my name is Yo Soto, and this is my research presentation of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo and its lasting impacts. So my original idea over was for my research assignment was always the treaty and how it institutionalized inequality for Mexican Americans. Once I looked more into it, I realized that it's also started cultural resistance, and then I also decided to research about that as well. So my process of executing the research paper consisted of four steps. First was my topic selection, which was the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Second, once I knew what topic I wanted to do my research about, I had to find scholarly sources to use for my research. Third, then I have to arrange my outline for my paper. And lastly, I had to do the writing part of my research and fix some tweaks along the way. So, a little summary of my research was that the paper examined the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, as well as its long-term consequences it had for Mexican Americans. To be in particular, it went into depth of terms it had, such as dispossession of land, ignorance of their culture, and resistance that Mexican Americans went through. The analysis explains that what the treaty was and how the treaty broke its own promises that were written on it, ultimately shaping the politics in the Southwest. The paper argues that not only did the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo institutionalize inequality for Mexican Americans, but it also basically encouraged some type of form of cultural and legal resistance. So, what were the sources that I used for to construct my research? The sources that I ended up using for my research were journal articles solely from JSTOR. I really like the format of JSTOR and how easy it was to roam around and set filters to get precise results of what I wanted to look for. Proving the ideas I wanted to. Yes, I proved that the land loss stats and resistance movement clearly tied to treaty violations. Also, something that was unexpected that I found was that the religious bias was more influential than anticipated, and also that there was more needed primary accounts from displaced families. So the struggles that I came across while conducting research was I personally struggled with finding good, reliable, and relevant sources for my paper. I feel like I wanted the best sources, but also I felt really rushed. Some new history that I learned was the Article X's removal was a deliberate act to enable land grabs, which was crazy to me. And then also the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, I had already learned about it, but this time I really was able to go into depth into it. So that was nice. Um, Also, anti-capitalism was a tool to justify marginalization, and fourth, resistance wasn't just reactive, it was also cultural preservation. So these are the two images that I chose to represent the history in my paper. The first image is obviously the Treaty of the Guadalupe Hidalgo, and those were the land dispossession that was taken away from Mexico and given to the United States. And then in the bottom, I chose that picture because it shows the resistance that Mexicans had towards the United States, even when their culture was being set down. Struggles when writing the paper was organizing. I struggled organizing the treaty terms versus long-term impacts, as well as balancing oppression and resistance narratives. And then ultimately also the sources I really struggle with the sources. And then something I would do different for the assignment, something that I would do differently for my research papers, I would like to go more into depth by comparing these cultures that Mexican Americans had compared to Native Americans. That would be really cool and really interesting. Also get other sources like actual people who have relations to people in which experience that time to get their insight of it. My time dedication when it comes to selecting my sources, that took me a very long time, to be honest. I would say like 6 hours. For the writing part of my research, I took around 8 hours or so. That some advice for future students is do not take fast-paced course lightly and make a schedule for yourself to organize what to do and when to do it. Second, do not procrastinate. Cramming everything to the end only rushes your assignments and lowers the quality of them. And finally, this is really important. Do the extra credit really does help, and you should do it. Not only is it giving you extra points, but it's doing things that help you. Thank you.